part of my walkthrough, which is going to be about the Remire Calamity.
We've got to go.
I'm going to skip the cutscenes, but to make a long story short, you've got to investigate something that's happened in Remire Village. Now, this is going to be a rather tricky mission with some very different requirements, and my units are going to reflect that, despite being as strong as they are throughout my walkthrough. And you'll see what I mean when you see the map. Right. Now, the map is split into what I like to call 3 parts. You've got the left-hand side, the middle, and the right-hand side. Now, the reason why this is important, as stupid as you may think this is that you've got to save some villagers, as shown right there. Here, there, and there. And you've got a few villagers there. Now, the reason why I'm pointing these out is because your mission reward will depend on how fast you can save these villagers. But naturally, that's going to be a bit difficult if you don't have units who can fly. Now, I'm playing this on the Black Eagles map, so you naturally don't come with any units. But if you've managed to recruit Ingrid, she's one example. Petra, as well, tends to have stats that lean towards flying units. So that's something you want to remember, because while you can probably save all the villagers on the left and the right side of the map, on the middle, sorry, the right side of the map has their villagers at the far back, and it may be difficult to reach them without a flyer. So whenever you're thinking of what units to get, always, always, always think about who you're bringing. High mobility is a plus in this case. So pick units either based in cavalry. You may have to dismount sometimes and then remount once you've got better terrain. But always, always try to bring at least 1 or 2 flyers, around 1 or 2 I should say, and stock yourself with cavalry. Now, the victory conditions and defeat conditions aren't too different. Of course, the victory conditions defeat every enemy. The defeat conditions are, well, either all your units are defeated or Geralt falls in battle. Now, remember, you can't let your Geralt die, and he's going to be an ally. So, if keeping him alive is a problem, have a healer near him.
There are some suspicious looking. I'll rein in the village.
Now, for the purposes of this, I'm going to have Petra just fly around and get to chests, which are normally on the right-hand side. By and large, everybody else should just focus on doing what they do best, which is, well, you're going to have to take out all the enemies.
Ready.
There. Once you save a villager, they will disappear too, which allows you to move up. Now, the reason why I had the flyers is because this terrain is going to be really difficult to navigate for units that aren't flyers.
That's my cue.
Everyone else shouldn't have too much of a hard time, but again, you really don't want to be held up by this sort of thing.
I am Ferdinand von Iron.
Oh no.
Now, archers can
Put me in there.
move to the side and help out a little bit, but of course the obvious disadvantage to that is they can't actually move over to the terrain, which can be make things a little bit more complicated when you actually need them to be in a position where they can actually save a unit. That's why I recommend having flyers. Now, even though the rampaging villagers will no doubt move towards the normal villagers, they have a surprising amount of, well, resilience, shall I say. So you won't have to worry about the rampaging villagers killing off the villagers too quickly. The biggest problem is going to be saving the villagers in the, well, based on the position of the map, the lower right-hand corner. That's why I insisted having a flyer. In this case, in my case, it's going to be Ingrid. I'm going to skip that because, well, very little is going to kill Joe. I had Ingrid go on the right side of the map. That way, we could cover and easily reach those villagers on the lower right-hand side because we didn't have to worry about... Oh, hang on. You've noticed that you've got an ally, Tomas, surrounded by villains. Ooh, that's not a good thing. Anyway. Notice it's a lot easier to reach people now that Ingrid is literally speeding across about half of the map. I'm actually going to have as many units as I can break through. Mainly because it just gets harder to position. Now some of you might notice, hey, there's a wall. Why can't you just break that and get through? That doesn't really fix the fundamental problem, which is, again, rubble here. You can, of course, get through for the moment you see some grassland, but a flyer would be much faster in this regard. Rather than, of course, having a unit burn themselves on fire, which is not advisable if your units are somewhat weak.
Tomas, what are you?
I'm not Tomas. What?
Now, obviously, the librarian is going to turn.
I was hiding away with her.
And now the victory conditions will change upon this reveal, which is to defeat the enemy commander. The reason why this is worth noting, it appears. So, defeating all of those enemies will be a bit harder. Now, you'll notice that in my previous walkthrough, I did, or shall I say, when we were rescuing Flame, that was your last chance to get the Dark Seal. And you might be confused because you're seeing, well, of course, you're seeing the Death Knight here, and you're thinking, can't I get the Dark Seal from him here? You can, however, just gonna let the villagers retreat first before I continue this. Again, don't expect optimal movements. However, the problem with this guy now is that he's surrounded by a lot of hard-to-reach terrain, and your only chance to get to him is the stairs. It's not necessarily feasible for you to reach him. It's a lot easier to finish the fight by attacking Solon. And you might think, oh, well, you're just wimping out, you don't really want to fight the Death Knight. Look, I could probably take on the Death Knight with my characters, but again, in this mission, you're not really focused on the Death Knight, and if you're at the point where Tomas reveals himself, you're probably already good enough to take care. You're probably close enough that it's not even worth going around to get another Dark Seal. I'm actually gonna camp there and save that last villager. Now, I'm actually going to have Petra take out that enemy and save that final villager, so I've only got one more left. Again, this is important because you want to ensure. Now, again, be careful of the terrain and inspect each tile you move to with your navigator move tool, however you want to call it, because you're not actually sure. It's not actually clear which tiles are A, fiery floor tiles, or B, obstacles. So now some are breakable walls, but again, it's not. If it's not necessarily clear, it's not always obvious which one is which. Now, of course, to break the deadlock, I'm going to have Caspar move to the side, have my main character come in here, and start beating the crap out of the guards. I'm also going to have Ferdinand move to the end, perhaps to draw out some fire. Take out the archer.
Am I done yet?
Possibly heal the church soldier and move into the next phase. Now, of course, you might be thinking, well, you saved those units rather quickly. Again, that's because I had 2 flyers. So I could easily cover one half of the map with, say, Ingrid. In this case, I had Petra, and Ingrid. But that doesn't necessarily change that, or shall I say, it doesn't change the fact that this would have been significantly harder to achieve if I only had 1 flyer or no flyer. Because with a flyer, I'm able to navigate a significant portion of the map without much harm. And that will be the final villager saved.
We've rescued as many as we can.
And now I can focus my attention on the bad guy. Now, as you may have noticed, it's really hard for regular cavalry to make it up those stairs. And it's a little bit like a chokehold for your units. That's why you've got to be careful. I realize I'm saying this a lot, and you're probably sick and tired of hearing things like that. But, again, please be careful of tiles that may or may not burn you, because you do not want to get burned on this map. It sucks. And I know that sounds incredibly obvious, but it's true.
That is that.
Now, Tomas won't actually do, or Solon, I should say, won't actually do much if you never enter his range. In this case, I can focus my attention on possibly taking out the Dark Knight, or, in case of other units, attempt to take him out really fast. Now, of course, the rest of the units will start to move. So, again, this is sort of a timed effort. It's not going to be as easy as you might think to get to the Dark Knight. Now, if you're like me and you leveled your units a lot, it shouldn't be too difficult to take on even the Dark Knight. But again, if you can't afford the risk, you're able to get to Tomas by the time the Death Knight reveals himself. So if you can't get to him, you can't get to him. In this case, I have a very, very powerful unit. Dorothea as a Remire, and she's got Meteor. Now, I'm not necessarily going to drop everything on her right away, but I'm going to start taking out the units to the left and right. And you'll see The 2 units have some pretty nice items, crescent sickles, but again, they're nothing really to they're nothing big to write home about. You can, they're good, but I mean, if you didn't have to have them, you don't have to have them. Wait, we're gonna smack. I could smack the Death Knight, but then that would just risk other things. So I'm just gonna use the first meteor
Take me serious.
on the Flamethrower Soldier.
I won't go down so easily.
That dealt a lot of damage, but
That was fun to watch.
now I'm not gonna be too worried about Geralt and the rest of his units making his way.
Now you know your limits. You're weak.
Edelgard is extremely powerful to the point where none of this will
You were
really
but a
bother.
savage.
As you can see, probably, as I said, by the time you get to this point, you're probably already at a stage where killing Solon is more feasible than killing the Death Knight. It's not impossible, mind you. Far from it. It's just probably not the smartest decision you've made. Despite that,
You're the one who should.
I'm still going to give it a try. Again, this is probably only possible because I've got my units as strong as they are. Because normally, Dorothea probably doesn't have Meteor at this stage. But as you probably noted,
The Death Knight was just a.
it was not actually feasible for me to get to the Death Knight on time where my character is not as strong as they were. Because, well, fundamentally, I didn't have enough time. So just to cut the crap, I'm gonna have my main character just finish off Solon.
Ah, the curse.
He's actually not that difficult, again, if you've managed to get to him at this point,
Why have you
because
gone after? Wait!
you could have surrounded him, taken out his units to the side. He won't actually kill you too quickly if you're not surrounded.
We let him all survey the thing.
Now, of course, if you saved all the villagers, you get a fantastic reward. The more villagers that die, the less generous the reward is. But, by and large, that's the Remire Calamity walkthrough in a nutshell. Of course, I know I'm on normal casual and I'm playing like a scrub, but really, the only difficult part about this map is saving the villagers and getting close enough for Tomas to reveal himself as Solon. Once that happens, you can just rush for Solon, take out his units, or even just duck to the side with your flyers and take him out if you have any. It's really not that difficult. Well, thanks for watching this walkthrough. I hope you learned a lot. Please do subscribe if you enjoyed this walkthrough. There will be more videos like this in the future. Thank you for watching again, and I'll see you